Well, this company is actually a public company, a listed company, as you would say, in South Africa. Several billion in revenue, not a monster, but, and they came to us, it came to me actually, because I got recommended in from a member of the board of directors, saying that they had not done a strategy reboot for 5 years, wanted me to come in, and our people to come in and reboot the strategy, which was fine. Except that wasn't the problem. The problem was, and we do these nice little analytic pieces that try to frame what the issue is. And their issue was the one I talked about. If you looked at the areas they've been spending money over the last 5 years and the areas which were generating positive returns and growth, it was totally misallocated.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Grow IT podcast. One of your hosts here, Trey King. And today we are very excited to have our guest, Mr. Tom Doorley he's the founder and chairman from Sage Partners. So we're lucky to have him on today. And as you guys know, this podcast is where thought leaders come on to, share a bit, talk about their niche expertise. So we'll be diving into his story a bit and, what his company does and how he goes about growing it. So make sure to stick around for this one. But without further ado, Tom, welcome. Thanks for coming on today.
It is my pleasure. I'm happy to join you. I love your story about growth, because growth is the way in which companies create value, and so it's really important. So your tagline, Growth IT, could be said, "Let's grow it," or it's information technology. But I like it. It works very well.
Yeah. Because originally it came from from a Grow IT space, but obviously we've grown out of that. So it's
Yeah.
very much on influence and trust.
Right.
Where we basically originally came from. But tell me, Tom, I think to kick things off, if you don't
Yep.
mind, just to just give us a bit around your background, please.
Sure. So, undergraduate degree is chemical engineering. So I was an engineer at Penn State here in the States, and then I went on to Columbia for an MBA in marketing. And I've been able to play both of those together in my career. And I've been a consultant in one way or another for the long term. I set up a company called Braxton Associates with a co-founder, and it was
Yeah.
about strategy, and it was about working with mostly large companies at the time, and helping them figure out how to grow. And why grow? Because, as you know, growth is the superior value creating strategy. If you've done analysis or worked with your clients, you want to create value, you have to grow. So that was the theme at Braxton. We merged it then into Deloitte Consulting, where I became a senior partner. And then when I retired from Deloitte, I set up something called Sage Partners, where there are 18 of us as partners, located in the U.S. with our network in both sides of the ocean, in the Asia Pacific and in Europe, where we have clients. And again, the sole focus is on helping companies grow.
Lovely. Having said that, what typical problems do you guys solve or design
Sure.
outcomes, right? From a service offering point of view.
Yeah, so we have two types of clients. Our ideal client profile is kind of in two categories. They're linked together by growth, but we have a venture growth group, which is younger companies needing to scale. And the problem you have once you're sort of out of the chute, you've got some revenues, you've got some customers or clients, whatever it is you call them, but then you have to figure out how does you scale? And scaling is one of these difficult things, because you have to give up some control. You have to find a way to bring in some process and all of that and structure. But if you do too much, then you become hidebound and you can't really grow. So we help them figure out the way to create this balance, keep the growth momentum going, build enough process so they can be sustainable. Then with the larger companies, the issues often are about reigniting growth, that they've
Right.
gotten to a point where, and sometimes it's about the bureaucracy, slows everything down. You just don't react. You're missing opportunities. And so we help them find opportunities and rebuild their growth engines.
Got it. There's so much value already that I see what you guys provide your clientele with,
Yeah.
or can I say, bring to the table. If you had to summarize it into, what would be the most significant value that you guys bring to other companies, what would you say would that be?
I think the most significant value is being able to step back from the fray, because as you are in a company, you know how it is, right? If you're a young company, existing company, the day to day is just overwhelming. It is
Right.
distracting. Obviously, you have to help the trains have to run on time, and so there's a lot of that sort of gets in the way of being able to think about what's what and how to make things work. And so our view is because we've seen, we have sort of a little saying that says we've been there, done that. So because we are late career folks with lots of experience running companies and advising companies, probably every single issue that a client has faced, we've seen somewhere along the line. Now, we started our life out in the analog world, right? And today it's a digital world. But the organizational issues, the strategy issues, the governance issues, the culture issues are strikingly similar. And so we're able to say, well, wait a minute, you think this is the problem, but it's actually
Yes.
not. The problem is that you're sending your resources to the wrong areas. You keep trying to fix your broken pieces, and you're starving your hot shots, and you shouldn't do that, right? So
Right.
it's that sort of thing. Yeah.
Can you possibly give us an example of you know as a client that you guys have successfully assisted, just to provide some more perspective? Obviously, you don't have to drop names. I
Sure.
don't know if I don't want to put anybody in trouble here. So, but if you don't mind, just to give an example of somewhere where you guys have assisted a company.
Sure. So here's an example. This company is actually a public company, a listed company, as you would say, in South Africa.
Sure.
Several billion in revenue, not a monster, but and they came to us, it came to me actually, because I got recommended in from a member of the board of directors, saying that they had not done a strategy reboot for 5 years and wanted me to come in and our people to come in and reboot the strategy, which was fine, except that wasn't the problem. The
Yeah.
problem was, and this is, we do these nice little analytic pieces that try to frame what the issue is. And their issue was the one I talked about. If you looked at the areas they've been spending money over the last 5 years and
Yes.
the areas which were generating positive returns and growth, it was totally misallocated. So the question was, how do you understand? And the CEO who led all of that was kind of stuck. And it was very difficult to convince him that the problem was not some fancy new statement of strategy. Well, there's a little bit of that, maybe 10% of that. 90% of the value we could provide to them was figuring out how to reorganize the organization so it focused on the high potential areas and to back out of the ones that you keep trying to fix. And so it really worked. And it had this little matrix, a little 2 by 2, right, that showed profitability on this axis,
Yeah.
low and high, growth up here, and these unprofitable businesses were the ones that they're investing in, and it was just a mistake. And so, but this was one that was actually a culture change issue. And even
Okay.
though I wrote, we developed the analysis early, I want to say it took me 2.5 months
Yeah.
to get the CEO, and because the CEO drives the organization, the organization got it much earlier, but the CEO took a long time. So as a manager, in this case, as I say, we do whatever it takes to help the company be successful. To get back on a growth track, they needed to reorient where they were spending their money.
Such an interesting story.
Yeah,
Especially like you said, one can identify maybe the problem quite quick in a certain way, but then obviously the leadership team of that company needs to be on board with those changes, right?
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise to follow through. Tell me,
And if I just might continue. So I've got a
yeah.
small company example from our venture group.
Oh
It's an
yeah.
agriculture technology company, some great technology that is going to revolutionize how it is you understand whether a plant needs nutrients and all that sort of thing.
Right.
And the challenge here was to help the CEO, who is a scientist, become more of a CEO. How it is you explain the product, and as he's now scaling, he's got some money in the till, and he's getting ready for his first institutional round coming up. But it was all about how you take the leader who owns the product, right, owns the technology,
Yeah.
how it is you get that person to be more of a CEO. Ultimately, several years from now, there'll be a professional CEO. But to get from here to there, right, because you can't afford that person right now, he has to be the one who learns how to be a CEO and not just the chief scientist.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
What a good example as well. Tell me,
yeah.
I mean, you definitely, because this is what you guys do. But as you know, talking about Sage Partners itself now.
Yeah,
You know, there's always challenges when it comes to growing a business.
yeah.
The road's never an easy one. There's always a couple of bumps, right?
Yes,
What
yes, yes.
if I'm sounding diplomatic now, right?
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
me, tell me, can you maybe mention a challenge or two that you guys faced, with growing your firm? What has worked to grow
Sure.
it, what has not?
Yeah. So we're a relatively small organization, and we have 6 rules that define how it is we work. Rule
Okay.
number 5, which is important for a small organization, as I say, there are 18 of us, is no assholes. And it means that, right, if you're in a large organization and there's somebody you don't want to work with, well, probably you can find a way to avoid it. Small organization, you can't. And so
Yeah.
we've been very careful to try to find out when somebody sort of goes over the line. And so the challenge is when somebody isn't working, they don't want to work, they're not doing the right things, or they fall in category A, the asshole category. Uh,
Yeah.
how you help them out and how you get rid of them. And so the trick is, and I learned this from another consulting firm years ago. There's a big consulting firm called McKinsey and Company, and nobody who was at all senior ever got fired. However, there were people who were working there on Monday who weren't working there on Friday.
Right.
Right. And so you
Right.
had to have this. And so I had to develop a technique of helping people to understand that this was not the right place for them. You know, I mean, if somebody had
Yeah.
been violating and doing things that were, illegal and all that sort of thing, well, that'd be easy. But most of the
Yes.
time, it's just not that. Somebody isn't working. And so the challenge is finding a way to move people out without creating, really just so disrupting the organization. But
Yeah.
now there's
Yeah.
one that we're facing right now. So I founded this company 20 years ago and with a group of folks. Guess what? We're 20 years older. And so our challenge right now is, and so we've created a group, we call it the Next Gen group, the younger group. And we've said to them, take a look at everything we're doing, how we're shaping our product, what is our ideal client profile, all that sort of thing, and say, what should we do so that 20 years from now, they're still a vibrant and growing Sage Partners. And so that's it.
Right.
We're dealing with that. And every organization at somewhere along the line has to deal with it. But in a lot of consulting firms, like I sold my first company to Deloitte Consulting. At Deloitte Consulting, you sign an agreement that you retire at 60, right? And that
Okay.
does a lot of things, including gives lift for the young folks. Well, we don't want that because we're all 60 plus, right?
Yeah.
But but and so I think we're doing a really good job of empowering the next generation. I mean, obviously we're not stepping away from anything. We're still
Yes.
working, generating revenue, doing things like this, the
Yes.
podcast and so on. But it's important that you create the understanding that it is your firm too, and now you need to make it viable 20 years from now.
That's good. That's actually quite good advice. Tell me, from you know, you're talking about sustainability now, the business and so on.
Yeah,
In your situation, because obviously you're very much active still.
yeah.
You know, are you currently like creating thought leadership, content? Do you make use of those type of strategies when it comes to leveraging, as part of growth initiative? Is that something
Yes,
that
yes,
you not
yes.
what is work, what does not work?
Yeah, all along I've been the leading revenue generator, and more, I've also turned to be not the only, but an important person to generate thought leadership. So I do a podcast, Sage, focus on growth, Sage Insights. I'm on episode 15. I did 14 of them last year, and it's a way of bringing in a guest and talking about an issue that has, in fairness, 2 objectives. One is brand awareness, making sure people understand who Sage is and what it is we do. But at this stage in career, it has another aspect too, and that is I want to give back to the world some of the things that I've learned. And so about 1 out of every 10 of the episodes is about something that's not going to generate much revenue for Sage, but it's an important topic that I want to share with the world. We call that sort of, playing it forward. Uh,
Yeah.
and I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of LinkedIn posting. I occasionally get something picked up by the Wall Street Journal and that sort of thing, or
Right.
our local paper here, the Boston Globe. And so that's I do that, and I've done more of that than anybody else in the firm. And it's, largely because of who I am and how I got here. And it should be my role. Right.
Right, right. And then maybe just a bit on the lighter side, what is it, Tom, that that initiate, that got you the spark to do what you do? What is it that you enjoy so most about this industry?
Yeah, well, if you talk about it as consulting or the advisory industry or whatever it is, I really like solving problems and then help people do something with it. And the interaction you have with a client when you come up with a set of ideas that they then grasp onto and do something with it, there's a real thrill. There's a real thrill for that. The other aspect is over the years, I've been lucky to surround myself or be surrounded with a lot of really interesting people, my partners and other people. And I gain a lot from when I left, was retiring from Deloitte. I could have gone in as a single shingle and done fine being one-on-one. But I love the fact that I've got partners who can give me another idea or something I haven't thought about. And it's a great time to be collaborative. And I love that collaborative aspect. And as far as I can say, because mine is not a physical career, I can do
Yeah.
this for a long time. And I plan to do it for a long time. And I would advise anybody who likes what they're doing to do it as long as they can, right?
Awesome. Actually, talking about advice, what would you say, in your opinion, what does it take from a mindset point of view to be a founder president like yourself, to be in that position, to be successful in it? What advice can you give to, the younger generation?
Sure, a couple of things. First of all, you have to understand that in order to be successful in anything you're doing, you're going to have to
Yeah.
work hard. So what you want to do is you want to find out things you like to do, then those are the things that you'll work hard at and you'll be successful at. On the other hand, being an entrepreneur sort of takes it up a notch. So as hard as you would work in Procter and Gamble or J.P. Morgan Chase or whatever it is,
Yeah.
this takes up a notch. It's sort of different, and you have to be able to accept the risk. That I remember years and years ago, for when we first founded Braxton Associates, we were
Yeah.
we had office space that was overflow space from another consulting firm. Came time to put ours up, our own. And so when we signed the lease, each of us had to guarantee the lease personally for the office space. And I looked at it, and the guarantee was more than the house I owned. So so
Goodness.
yeah, and so I thought, whoa, how about that? Fortunately, it worked out well. But you have to understand that. You have to sort of say that this is going to be a challenge, and am I up for the challenge? And then, of course, you think through all the things. What is my value proposition? How do I find clients? How do I deliver customers? And all that sort of thing. But it has to start off with this understanding that it is a challenge,
Yeah.
not unlike being successful anywhere, but a notch up, I would say, another several percentage points on top.
Tell me, Tom, where can the listeners, where can they get hold of you guys?
Well, first of all, they can reach out to me directly, and I'm T. Doorley at sagepartners.net. They can check out our website, which is sagepartners.net, surprisingly enough, where we have a website up and where we list our people. We talk about the things we've done, that sort of thing, and explain how it is we work. Yeah. Oh, by
Awesome.
the way,
Tom,
you can also look at my podcast, which is, again, just to repeat, focus on growth, Sage Insights. So that's up and available too.
lovely. Tom, I would like to thank you for coming on today, willing to share your knowledge.
Yeah.
It was so interesting finding out a bit more about your business. And I think the advice that you gave, there's a couple of people that's making notes right now. So thank you very much for coming on. It was fun. I wish you and your company all the best going forward, and appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it, and I think your concept, grow IT, is a really good concept. As I say, growth is the important thing, and you're right on it. So good luck to you as well.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.